She's the queen of Bollywood. She's an international superstar. Wherever she goes, she's mobbed. She's been called one of the world's most beautiful women. So when she put on weight, some of her followers protested. My guest today is Aishwarya Rai. As a teenager, Aishwarya was snapped up by the modelling world.
I was virtually invited into the industry with very good assignments.
Miss World!
At 21, she won the Miss World competition. And her world changed forever.
There was a lot of change. I was just a student the night before, and suddenly next day there I was, representing my people internationally.
By 24, she had already become an established name in Bollywood, the world's biggest film industry. Central to it all was her breathtaking beauty. Her looks and her international box office appeal led to roles in the home of cinema, Hollywood.
I'm sorry I'm a bit late, my flight was delayed. You're Jacques Louzeau.
And she ascended to Bollywood royalty with her marriage to a famous actor, Abhishek Bachchan, son of Bollywood's biggest star.
My father-in-law is iconic, legendary actually.
Next came a baby daughter, along with public complaints about her postpartum weight gain.
When it comes to food, I love food. I'm comfortable with my foods. I've never dieted, never.
And now, after 2 years away from the big screen, there's one question everyone's asking. Will she ever return? Upon arriving in Mumbai, I learnt that news of our interview had leaked out, making headlines. But that's not surprising. Everything she does makes news. I'm here in the hills above Mumbai, in the heart of Bollywood. It's a place where Aishwarya Rai is truly at home.
In India, I think our movies are virtually a celebration. It's like the largest entertainment, apart from, well, cricket. But movies is absolutely loved by our people, and I always say that I'm very much a part of our industry, but I'm as much our audience, and I love our cinema. In fact, we're here in Film City.
Aishwarya was raised in a conservative, middle-class family that was focused on education. When you came here, how old were you when you started to think, maybe I could become an actress or a model?
My story is a little different because actually I never did quite think I'd belong to showbiz. No one in my immediate family or even extended family has ever belonged to showbiz. So we're actually more academically oriented. So it was always about completing your education, getting a degree, going to professional school.
Oh, you were going to be an architect at one point.
Yes, in fact, even before that, the dream was medicine, to actually become a doctor. Right. And then along the journey, because I've always been, I was a science student, but also inclined towards the arts. I decided to discover architecture, which to me was a blend of the science and the arts. And so I enrolled into architecture school. But just prior to enrolling, while I was in junior college, there was a professor of mine who, bless her soul today, she isn't with us anymore, and she was also a photojournalist while she was a professor of English literature. She requested I do this one fashion feature for her, and I just did it for her. I never went the conventional route of having a portfolio and going looking for a job or having an agent or an agency. I was just a student doing this one feature for a professor. But she was the one who told everybody about this girl called Aishwarya. And I had calls pouring in, and I was virtually invited into the industry with very good assignments.
And can you remember the first time somebody said to you, "You are beautiful"?
These questions make me very uncomfortable. Because it's, I probably still do not know how to respond to compliments about the exterior.
Yeah.
So I just say a modest thank you. But I'm not quite sure I've sat and logged it and, made a note of it that, I was called beautiful. No, not really. People have been generous in my lifetime, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
Well, let's at this point take a look at you and your early days. Here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back to Miss World 1994, live from Sun City.
The Miss Worlds that we have had up to date have been proof enough that they have had compassion for the underprivileged, not only the people who have status and stature, who can look beyond the barriers that man has set up for ourselves of nationality, color. We have to look beyond that, and that will make a true Miss World, a true person, a real person. Thank you.
Very well spoken, Miss India.
And Miss World 1994 is Miss India.
There you are. Magic at that particular moment.
Yes, and I have to tell you why I laughed just now. Because on the night before of the actual event, we'd have a little rehearsal for all the participants, all the contestants, to get an idea as to, if you did place, where you'd be standing on stage, because it's a televised event as well. So we'd all be spoofing the response every time a winner's announced. Yeah, we were taking the mickey. I mean, we were all making fun ourselves that every time there's a contestant who's announced, the girls go, and I was like, my hands, I did the same thing. There, they announced me as the winner, and there I went doing, but it's really not practiced. No. It's just something that happens at the time because you don't expect to win. And I think what's most incredible about the moment is that your country is announced. It's not Aishwarya who's announced, it's Miss India. And for me, somewhere, going to that pageant was not about being a beauty queen or telling the world, do you think I'm beautiful? So here I am. It was about representing India internationally.
Namaste, I'm Aishwarya Rai, 21 years old, and come from the country of love, peace and harmony, India.
Participating in the pageant meant that Aishwarya would have to appear on worldwide TV wearing a swimsuit. But how would this be received in her conservative homeland? Did you feel nervous about doing that?
A swimsuit is not a garment I have never worn before, but yes, I haven't walked on stage before in it. And yes, it wasn't the most natural thing for me to do. No. And in fact, in the pre-rounds as well, I talked to them about it, and I was like, if the idea is to do it like a fashion show, like fashion models would, then I did it with a sarong in the initial rounds. And in fact, on the stage that year, in the preliminaries, they do have all the 87 contestants with sarongs. I mean, I'm sure internationally girls are very comfortable in swimwear, and it's about girls possibly getting a career in the fashion world and in the modeling world internationally, where people are far more comfortable in their skin publicly. Then let's just do it like a fashion show, because it's not about really the girl with the best body, because then I wouldn't have won. There were girls with far more stunning bodies on, during my years. So yeah, it wasn't about the body for sure.
At that stage in your life, were you aware? Did you think everything was about to change in your life? That you'd started on a course that you couldn't totally control?
I believed I could control the course ahead, or I would like to definitely have a grip on it. I was actually quite determined about that. But did I get a sense that everything was going to change? Yes. Definitely from within, and everything around me convinced me as well. There was a lot of change. I was just a student the night before, and suddenly next day there I was representing my people internationally. That's what I was looking for when I participated in the pageant. But it was wonderful to see that that's exactly what it was turning out to be. It was not about just getting a beauty queen title, as I said. It was that opportunity for me to become a kind of cultural ambassador for us Indians on the world platform. And it shocked me how ill-informed so many parts of the world were actually about current India. And I'm so blessed that I had the opportunity to dispel some very, from my perspective, unbelievable misconceptions about us as a country.
What's an example of the sort of unbelievable things you were amazed people thought about India?
Basic things like the fact that I spoke English comfortably to begin with. And they'd be like, are you educated in India? And I'm like, yes. It's like, you speak English really well. And I'm like, well, we do learn English in India. You know, I mean, please, this is really simple. Yes, when I'm on the world platform, I do tend to speak with a little more of a pronounced accent. So my accent does get a little more westernized. But having said that, my English is plain and simple. I've studied in India, and that's it.
From Miss World, it was a short leap to Bollywood stardom for the 21-year-old.
La 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 baje, dole baje, तुम्हारे कपड़े
That was really you with the sword there, was
yeah.
it?
Yeah, evidently, yes.
Yes.
Very much. Loving every minute of it.
It must have been very different, actually. I mean, moving on from on the one level of being an unnamed model, as it were, with no headline underneath, to the point of becoming a star in a film and with your name being everywhere and so on. That was quite an adjustment you had to make there.
So I wouldn't want to sound presumptuous, but very honest, I think thanks to the love of my people and the way they embraced me right from the first advert that I did, I actually never quite suffered anonymity. I was virtually being invited to join the film industry prior to my titles. So in terms of all of that space, it wasn't new to me. My story is not that of a conventional newcomer into the film industry. Nobody in my circle or my space until then had ever belonged to the film industry. So this was a new world. This was new turf. But since I chose to become an actor as a career choice, I was going to discontinue with my education. And I chose to become an actor.
I was thinking that Devdas was a breakthrough film, one of the breakthrough films of your career, wasn't it, really?
Yes, actually, all of them have been quite a landmark in my career. The first movie that they just showed, Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, was probably the third movie I was filming. At that time, we used to be making like a couple of movies at the same time. Today, we work on one film at a time, like you do in the West. But at the time, we'd be filming a couple of movies at the same time. So I really wouldn't know how to really number the first movie, whether to call it my third film or so. But it was a big one. It was loved by my audience. And it was the first movie I received the Best Actress award for. So it will always remain extremely special in my career.
And so now, you'd rather people compliment you on your talent than on your beauty.
Well, I am an actor. Of course, I'm an actor.
But you were a model
Professionally.
too, and you're a woman, so you could be complimented on either. But I thought you'd be more comfortable.
Compliments are welcome, and I'll know to graciously say thank you. But it depends what topic we're discussing.
You've been very, actually frank, really. In talking about the fact that, of course, beauty's not here to stay.
Obviously, I think I've had a very normal upbringing, and I've lived a very real life. So fortunately, I was very in touch with that obvious reality right at the beginning of my journey.
Aishwarya's roles had always played to the conservative Indian culture, where risque scenes are taboo. In Bollywood, just when an on-screen romance gets too hot, everyone breaks into song and dance. But Aishwarya was persuaded to push her own and her audience's boundaries.
I know.
दिल जले से दिल जल जाएगा इश्क करना इश्क ही तुझे तड़पाएगा दिल लगाना दिल जले से दिल जल जाएगा इश्क करना इश्क ही तुझे तड़पाएगा.
What persuaded you that this was the right time to do that?
Well, you're going to get me to talk about something I haven't in any of my interviews. When I did the movie Zoom, I was very aware that, okay, here I was going to be part of a film that's...
like in all this?
It's just popcorn entertainment. I mean, every frame, you're kind of aware of your stance in front of the camera. It's all very visual, and there is a bit of acting going along the way. So it was very specifically that genre of cinema. It was around the same time that the interest in the Western world from Hollywood or European cinema, English cinema, from the industry, there was a lot of interest in me and the possibility of me working overseas. And I'd already declined a couple of scripts purely on the basis of not being comfortable with, with the very physical scenes and the kissing, because I'd never done that on screen, and I just wasn't very comfortable with the idea. And I was quite sure, even my audience was not very comfortable with me doing it on screen. I was actually quite convinced about it. But I still said, okay, if I have to go down this path, let me first do it in our cinema, in an Indian piece of cinema, and let me see if all my doubts are true. And they were. I did it once, that prominently in that movie, Zoom, and it was so topical. And you'll be surprised. I mean, I actually got a couple of notices, legal notices, from some people in the country, turning around and saying, you are iconic. You're an example to our girls. You have led your life in such an exemplary manner. We're not comfortable with you doing this on screen, so why did you? And I was like, wow, I'm just an actor doing my job. And here I am being asked to offer an explanation for a couple of seconds in a 2-3 hour piece of cinema. A lot of actors had kissed before that movie. They continue to kiss on screen till this very minute. But public display is not that common in Indian culture. Even our actors, it's very rare that actors look comfortable in our cinema on screen kissing. It almost looks like it's a planned moment, just to make much ado about a moment or to excite the audience. It's made into this separate entity from a scene. It's not very comfortable in our screenplay. Our songs are. What the kiss is in the Western movie is what our songs do. And that's where our audience experiences all the emotions that the Western audience does when their actors kiss. So that's a very comfortable space for us. But I don't think the kiss visually has been. It's getting there. I mean, now it's become very, very common. So I still think our audience is getting comfortable with it.
The controversy didn't faze Hollywood, which courted Aishwarya for her international appeal.
Just wanted it to be simple.
I see, and so he came here. Is that what you think too? That India is the place to go for simple women?
No, that's not what I meant.
It's funny. Americans think they've got the answers for everything, including marriage. Pretty arrogant considering they've got the highest divorce rate in the world.
What I was trying to say is that he wanted a bride who was traditional and...
Darcy, stop boring her to death and come and get down with us.
This is my house. It's my money. If I want to spend it on other women, I will. If I want to poke out those pretty eyes, I'll do that too.
His DNA has been on file for over 10 years, without a match. I'm sorry I'm a bit late. My flight was delayed. You're Jacques Clouseau, the Pink Panther detective. This is such a thrill.
Steve Martin there, of course.
Right.
Wasn't it? Yes. Of all the international films, i.e. the non-Bollywood films made with the rest of the world, what is your favourite so far?
Wow. Difficult to pick a favorite simply because they're very obvious decisions that I made in terms of choices. There aren't that many. And they're each one done at a very, very different and specific phase of my career at the time. And I had my own reasons for making the choices. When you're working in the Indian film industry, we do not necessarily go from one film to the next in terms of accepting film offers. So if you're doing really well in the industry, and if you're one of those fortunate ones who's flooded with job offers, you could well be committed for the next 2 years, at least, in this industry. And that's exactly what my career was going through. So there were many movies that I was unable to do primarily for this reason, because I was already committed, and I was never that ambitious that I would just discard my filmmakers here in India because a film may not seem that juicy in terms of box office prospects, and the Western one would. I would never dream of discarding my filmmakers and then take on a possibly more lucrative or bigger announcement project.
At one stage, Aishwarya didn't just say no to Hollywood, she even said no to Brad Pitt.
There were a lot of explicit scenes for Helen. A lot of scenes, a lot of lovemaking scenes for that character.
We'll hear about that in part 2, along with her marriage into Bollywood royalty. A dynasty, or a dynasty. What happened when she had a baby and didn't immediately shrink back to ingenue's size? And what everybody wants to know, how does one of the world's most beautiful women stay that way?
I've never dieted, never.
Never?
Never, never.
Aishwarya Rai, the preeminent leading lady in the world's biggest film industry. A wife and mother constantly surrounded by paparazzi. A superstar so in demand she can turn down even the most tempting offer. Brad Pitt was one you said no to because you didn't think Troy was quite suitable and so on. Why did you make that decision?
When it came to Troy, that was in fact the very first year that I went to the States. And within a couple of days of meeting with a couple of agencies, I hadn't even, I think, taken on an agent by then, when I was called in for a couple of readings and screen tests for 3 different films, Troy one amongst them. And there was a possibility of me being in that movie. I was given the script to read. And there were a lot of explicit scenes for Helen. A lot of scenes, a lot of lovemaking scenes for that character. which I could understand in the piece of cinema on the international platform. Of course it works in the love story of Helen and Paris. But it did not work for me as an actor to be going out there. And while you get to play the part of Helen, which is incredible and iconic, but at the same time, the very material on celluloid involved a lot of lovemaking scenes that I wasn't comfortable with. So I quite declined even the possibility of becoming a part of that movie. And you know, it's wonderful work, but it just wasn't for me at the time.
But I can't wear them.
Two careers in the one marriage. Does that put a pressure on you or not?
Here, a couple leading a regular life together. A lot of credit for this attitude has to be given to our parents for the way they brought us up. I come from a family, like I said, who has not been in the public eye. And even when I came into the public eye, I continued to lead a very normal life with them. And Abhishek, my husband, on the other hand, is born into a family.
A dynasty?
Absolutely.
Or a dynasty?
Well, both his parents belong to the film industry. They're both actors and very, very, very well established. My father-in-law is iconic, legendary actually already, and you know he's much celebrated, and I could go on and on and on, and this interview will probably never end.
Helicopter! Amitabh ka helicopter! Kya bachcha? सारी दुनिया जिसकी टांग उसका सर
What's incredible is that even though that is a family that is so much in the public eye, Abhishek and Shweta, the kids have been brought up in a very, very, what to me is a very, very normal manner. And probably that's one of the roots of our connection, that we connected as people. We were friends for a very long time before we fell in love, and you know, came together to be man and wife. So yes, we are actors and we love what we do. We're passionate about what we do, and there are no two ways about that. At the same time, we are very real, committed people. Marriage means a lot to us. We respect the institution, and that's the normal life that we lead, even though it's so much in the public eye.
I found bewildering press campaign about how soon were you going to get rid of the extra weight you put on to have the baby and so on, and huge headlines about, I thought, what's this all about? I mean, it seemed to be something quite normal. You'd taken a little bit longer, you decided to take it easy, but what was the fuss about? Do you know?
That's pretty much my response. What's the fuss about? It's not something that I feel the need to even be discussing or giving so much attention to, because as you rightly put it, it's not, what's all the fuss about? It's normal, it was natural in my case, that was the natural turn that my body took in terms of whether I gained weight or I had water retention or whatever else that goes with the space. I was comfortable, and that's why I have been who I have been. I stepped out in public when I could take time out from my baby. And if I did think it was a big deal, I would have been in hiding or would have done something about it. Everything is accessible today. We all know the incredible progress that science has made. So if you want to lose it overnight, it is possible. But that's not the choice that I was making, and I pretty much made that evident. And if I wasn't disturbed by it, if people were, well, I guess, I hope they enjoyed the drama, because I was busy leading a very real life with my baby. I didn't realize, but I think the most positive thing that came out of it for me was to have so many women come to me and say that, thank you. You've actually gone and given so much confidence to so many of us who always believe that, oh my God, this phase you need to hide away, you need to work on yourself, it works on people's self-esteem, and you have been confident. And I was like, I didn't even think this wasn't a mission. I wasn't like on some mission to prove a point, this way or that. I was just being real. At least now you know what I said at 18 is what I'm doing even today, just living my normal real life, very much in the public eye, and doing what I love to do, and that is being an actor.
Are you going to become a new mother again?
I'd love to, God willing.
God willing.
Yeah.
Aishwarya, for quite some time now, has been putting her media profile to use, helping others.
Schools like this delve into what the children is all about, what the children needs, and how you go forth and educate them. I have been quietly associated with a lot of different causes that need attention and need voice on a public platform over the years. But the most recent one is my association with the United Nations, and I've been taken on as their International Goodwill Ambassador with UNAIDS, and it just happened in the last week of September, and well, I'm here and ready to work and do what needs to be done. Having the blessing of celebrity, it probably gives me access to a larger and wider reach when it comes to people through you, of course, the media. So I feel if we can reach a more receptive audience by the fact that I am on the public platform, then I would like to use that effectively. And this particular cause, the particular agenda that UNAIDS has, when you have this program of getting to zero by 2015, that's not very far away.
And what do you think could be done?
Their vision is to getting it to zero, and when they say getting it to zero, is to have no more babies born with HIV. So the area that UNAIDS believes can be controlled, and an achievable target is to have the next generation free of HIV. I believe that there'll be so many people out there who have not even stepped forward, who have not even come and got themselves tested out of the sheer fear of social taboo and ostracization. And that comes from the fact that I think they don't have enough people to talk to or people to talk to them, to educate them, to increase awareness. And that's where I believe I can step in and help give an impetus to it.
And this particular moment is a particularly good and trenchant moment to be doing this, in the sense that you must, as all first-time parents with a healthy child, at that moment of thankfulness is just the moment when you feel like reaching out more to people who have not been that fortunate and may have been born with some crippling disease.
What you say is very true, but the little truth here is that actually United Nations has been speaking to me over the past 10 years to come on board, and I was always interested in actually working in this area. But me being me, 10 years ago, I was there was so much going on in terms of my film work. I genuinely believed I didn't have the time to commit to the work in an honest way. And anything I take up in my life, I like to commit to completely. And if I believe I cannot do that, even if that would make for a grand announcement, I would not take it up. So 10 years ago, I declined. And down the years, even like 4 years ago, there was a lot of interest and there was the possibility of me coming on board. But I'd kept it at bay, saying probably at a later stage when I will genuinely be able to commit time. That happens to be now. Right now, I'm not working on film. Right now, I can plan my time ahead. I can plan all the work that they need me to do and commit to that when I'm beginning to schedule my work front. But my story is I had the blessing of working with the best of the directors that we have in our industry. And that has translated itself in the kind of work that I've been doing down the years. And of course there is change, of course there is growth.
The new and expanding Indian middle class has an appetite that goes beyond the song and dance of Bollywood. Subjects such as political thrillers, or themes of infidelity or infertility.
Oh boy, XX boys, Excite boys, add DVD, add dekh, XX, add XXX, movie, te hai wild wali. Huh? Theek hai? All the best.
Is that the way that Indian film is going, do you think? More reality, less happy endings?
I wouldn't want to make any such pronouncements because Indian cinema, I believe, in the traditional sense, what you all identify as the typical Bollywood film, in terms of identifying the music and dance and celebration, will always be enjoyed by our audience for sure. And I'm glad to know that a lot of the Western audience as well quite enjoys that in our cinema. And the world is getting smaller. Socially, I think it's becoming a far more international, global community, you know, in every part of the world. So it would be great that that identified as a traditional Indian cinema would continue to stay, because Indian as a people, we are a very festive community. We have a lot of celebration and festivals and festivities in our culture. And that reflects itself in the celebration of cinema in the typical Bollywood sense, as you all would define it.
मुझसे शादी करोगी मुझसे शादी करोगी मुझसे शादी करोगी मुझसे शादी करोगी.
At the same time, what the world identifies as changing cinema actually always did exist as well in Indian cinema. But I think with the multiplex culture getting stronger and that much more exhibition of our cinema, we have that much more opportunity to exhibit our cinema and distribute our cinema, more pockets in terms of markets in the world opening up. These movies get recognized by the Western media, get talked about. And so it's a great time for Indian cinema because it's always been diverse. We have a lot going on creatively, but it's a very interesting time because the audience is diverse and the opportunity is tremendous.
So do you think there will be less taboos in Indian cinema stroke Bollywood in the future? Will it become freer, more liberal?
That's been a natural progression probably since 1920 till date, you know. There's always been change, and change is great. Change is the only constant. I mean, that's a known fact. So that's a given. But I would always say that's creativity. It'll go through its curve, and as an artist, I think that's great and very, very exciting. I think the more creative liberation, the more exciting it is for directors to bring to life their vision. And it's great for cinema.
But will Aishwarya be part of this new era? She hasn't made a film for 2 years. You are obviously going to go on making films.
I'd love to. I mean, I think, like they say, once an actor, always an actor. And when you're not inspired and excited anymore, you will walk away. You're doing what you do for so long because you love doing it, apart from the fact that you're amazing at it. You enjoy it.
Yes, I love it.
It's pretty much the same thing for us as well. I mean, as actors, as creative people, you love doing what you do, and that's why you're here. I'm passionate about cinema. But, you know, the day I'm bored and if it doesn't excite me, I will not make the time.
For your fans and so on, that's a good positive reply in terms of the fact that you, at the moment, you want to go on making films. You don't want to stop.
On one level, probably it's the people of my industry and my audience who haven't even given me the opportunity to consider otherwise, because I've been interacting with my filmmakers. There's been talk in terms of scripts and at regular intervals. So I haven't really felt a break in any way. I mean, apart from the fact that time's just flying with my baby, it's really pretty much like maternity leave, I guess, as one would on any other job. But it's not, I mean, I think much ado is made about a break and a comeback, and this all just makes for exciting talk and titles and headlines for announcing an article, but much ado is made about that.
Well, we wish you all the best with that, with the social work we've been talking about. All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our formal interview had ended, but Aishwarya agreed to come out for a meal. Here we are.
This is me?
One for you.
Great. Thank you. How sweet is that? Thank you. Thank you.
One for me. Now, you are the expert on this place.
The expert, that's a bit, you're crediting me with a bit much, but I'm Indian and you're in my country, so welcome to you to our Indian dinner.
Thank you very much indeed. What do you think we should partake of, do you think?
I'm sure you'd find the Indian spices a bit much to palate. You want to do like just tikkas, you know, different kebabs and tikkas, easier on the spices for him. And a dal would be great. Do you like the Indian bread or rice?
Oh, I love Indian bread.
The Indian breads, yeah, the naans and kulchas and rotis would be great. And maybe a raita or a yogurt as well at the end. Of course, even our dessert, but that will come to later. Just this for the meal, yeah? Great, thank you.
Terrific. What are your favourites in terms of when you come to a restaurant like this? What are your favourite things, basically?
Well, the trick questions. But when it comes to food, I love food. I'm comfortable with my foods. I've never dieted, never.
Never?
Because I enjoy food. And the only thing that I'd probably work on is quantity, if I need to reduce and check the quantities over time. But I have never stopped myself from any particular cuisine or types of foods because I know I would not be able to be consistent with that throughout my lifetime. So I love home food the most.
Oh, home food. Yeah.
The most. But of course, in terms of cuisine, I enjoy all kinds of foods. But there's just something about the Indian food. I think we've all grown up on that so much that I think every third day, it's so easily available anywhere in the world now. So even when you're traveling, it's always there and available. But I'm easy with food. I really am. I'm not a very fussy eater.
And so when you said you never diet or never, even after the glorious birth.
Even after that, no.
You didn't?
No.
Did you run a lot? Or?
No, I should.
Do you exercise?
No, actually, it's amazing. But I have lost weight actually just looking after my daughter. So far, I mean,
you put her on the
probably
top floor,
should
so
be.
you have to run up and down.
But I'm really doing all the caretaking, so I think that keeps you very, very active. And just naturally, after a certain month, the weight just started dropping off. So no, thank you, I guess. Thank you, my dear darling daughter. But I should, I would like to. I've been saying this for years in so many interviews that I think it's important to kind of incorporate exercise into your routine because it's a lifestyle that you have to embrace. And you have to bring it into your routine, and that's where you can kind of just go with it. Like if and when I'm in the gym, I love it. But because it's never been part of my routine, I find it very difficult to factor it in. I'm not used to it. Maybe that's something I would like to do, just because, you know, it's healthy.
And what about if you had to write down the last meal on earth, what would be the perfect Indian meal for you?
I haven't thought about it so strongly. I think it's just basic food cooked by my mother. Very, very basic. Just simple rice and dal and maybe a fish or a chicken curry that my mum makes. I would love that. Like simple, basic food. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. She does.
What have we got here?
It's coming. Wow. For him, please.
What is this? What is it?
That's an Indian savory. It's called a samosa.
Samosa?
Yes. It's like a little...
Yes, that's right. The same name as a dictator. Anastasia Samosa. who was a dictator and was eventually thrown out by the Sandinistas.
Wow.
Well, the samosa is delicious.
We do a lot of just happy snacking with the hand.
Oh, right. Oh, really? That's very...
It's not quite easy to do this with a fork and knife.
No.
This is a hand snack,
yes,
finger
it is.
snack.
Yes, I'm eating it the wrong way. But I like it. Who has done more movies, you or your husband?
Oh, wow. Probably him, just a little more. I haven't actually counted, but maybe him.
Have you done 40?
I'm not sure, yeah. Over 40. Over 40 movies. So I don't know if we've equaled or he's done a few more. I'm not quite sure. Not sure.
Oh, really?